Hey everyone! So in this video I want to talk a little bit about the menstrual cycle and how that affects our energy levels throughout the day but also throughout the month, and how we can actually live a little bit more in alignment with our own cycle, and therefore use the energy that we have to the full maximum, and actually allowing ourselves to really rest when we need to. And it's really quite interesting because in our society now we're kind of in a world where we just keep going. You kind of have to be stable all of the time, because you may have a 9-to-5 job or whatever it is. You kind of always expected, if not from society, even from yourself, to perform at a certain level all the time. And that really isn't true or in alignment with how our bodies work being a woman. So if we start our cycle from the day we start our period, that is really a time when we need to just stop and let go of everything. We need to just rest if we can, and it can be really helpful to really just schedule a few days time off, perhaps even like a day or two before the period starts. I find for me that's really helpful if I rest already a couple of days prior to it, or at least not have anything too engaging that needs to be done, like socializing or any other activities. So if I already wind down, then throughout my period I actually have more energy and less symptoms to deal with, whether that's cramping or exhaustion or pains, headaches, whatever it might be. So really it's important to honor our body and that resting period. So if we're thinking of like our ancestors, they would actually go off and be by themselves and just be around other women, to just be with their bodies, and let go and release, because this is the time to just let go of stuff that really isn't serving us anymore, physically, mentally and emotionally. So if we can create a container, a space where we can just allow ourselves to be and wave through all of the emotions and everything that needs to be released, we will also have more energies for the rest of the month, actually. And we might notice that the more we let go and just process and allow, that our symptoms aren't as bad as they are when we unconsciously even hold on to things or keep functioning and kind of going against our natural state, our natural needs. So when we come out of our period, maybe the last kind of day or two, we might already notice that we naturally feel a little bit more sociable again. For me, for example, when I'm on my period, I'm just totally in my own space, my own energy, my own world. Everybody just leave me alone. And as long as I communicate that in a healthy way, there's actually no problem. It's only when I don't say anything, that's when there is kind of resistance, because maybe not everybody understands, or maybe not everybody is on the same path. So yes, coming out of that, it's really helpful to notice that you have more energy, and also notice what you want to put your energy into in the coming weeks, and then just go with that flow of kind of almost like a rising of the phoenix, coming out of that and seeing what's next. Which then brings us into the ovulation cycle, is when we are our most sociable naturally. We want to mate. That's what our body is programmed to do. So we're sociable. We're really good and clear with speech. We kind of are very clear about what we want and have lots of energy. And that is a really great time to really get things done and to to be out there and to meet up with friends and to just kind of thrive on that energy when it feels right, when we feel called to. If there is repression going on, so repressed emotions, this energy may be lacking because we're kind of having to hold ourselves back in social situations or relationships or whatever it is. So that can be a really good indicator to see whether there's repression in the body, if we're not kind of coming out into the world during our ovulation time and really just have fun. And then the phase after that I always find really interesting, because after the ovulation, the kind of, that peak, that high kind of dies down. And I think it's really important also when we are on our high to notice that we don't burn ourselves out completely. Yes, we are more sociable, but depending on our body type, it really depends how much rest we also need during that time, if it's called for. So yeah, the time afterwards is kind of when that peak dies down, and when there's, for me at least, there's still a really good amount of energy, but it's also a really reflective time. It's kind of when I have lots of insights and kind of more intuition time. And where the energy almost feels a little bit more stable. But again, it's not really about just my experience. I think my idea of this video is to inspire you to check in for yourself. Maybe make notes throughout the month and journal about it. Which cycle are you in right now and how are you feeling? Like really, really come into your body, check in with yourself and just see, how do I feel? What is going on for me right now? What is my energy saying? What do I feel drawn to do? Do I feel like going out a lot when I'm on my period? Or is that just like I really just want to stay at home and snuggle up? Just notice that, if that's true for you. Or when do you feel like you're kind of really energized and you just kind of want to play a little bit? So my invitation of this video is to really just pay attention to your cycle, and feel into your body, maybe every single day, and just journal a little bit for a while. Or when you really notice big spikes or big drops of energy, see where you're at in your cycle. If you don't have a regular cycle, there can be many reasons for this, and often it has to do with stress, external stress. So if we're thinking of, it's a hormonal imbalance, yes, that may be true, but our hormones are influenced by our stress levels and not the other way around. And this stress can either be caused externally or it can be caused internally, the way you relate to the world. So I think that would be a really, really important part to look into if you don't have a regular cycle. How am I relating to the world, and how am I responding to stress? Is there a lot of stress, even, like I said, if it isn't externally? Because I found myself actually living an extremely, extremely quiet and peaceful life. It couldn't have been any slower, and I was still so fatigued and so exhausted and had a really irregular cycle. And for me, there was a few reasons. One of them was my diet really wasn't right for me. It was very, very unhealthy, and it took me quite a while to realize that. It actually went quite extreme. So there was a continuous stress in my body of not getting what it really needed to be completely nourished. Another thing that was happening for me was that I had so much anxiety in my body that this caused my hormones to respond. And it wasn't external factors, it was all internal. It was mentally and emotionally, very strongly related to emotional repression. me not allowing and expressing my emotions, and therefore the cognition of the mind just going into overdrive, and that also really had to do with my sleeping patterns. I couldn't sleep properly, so I had this anxiety and insomnia combined, and so it was a lot of things that played into it. And I'll play around with a bit more and just talk about it a little bit more in future videos. But I just wanted to show you the relation or the connection between chronic fatigue or any kind of, exhaustion, burnout, and our menstrual cycle as a woman, because there is a very strong link in how we're living our day-to-day life and how our monthly energy can be more stable or fluctuating if that's what it needs to do, but it's becoming aware of it and just noticing what it is that your body needs in each moment. So I hope you find this video helpful, and I'll see you in the next one.